Hey everybody, Hot Rods in the Woods here. I know it's been a while coming, but here we go. I'm going to start off with some stuff on this Model A. Got some exhaust work to do on my Avalanche. So this will be like the patchwork quilt of repair jobs. But I wanted to add one little hack that I've done for years. I'm going all the way back to 1982-83 when I did transmission services, front end and brakes for a Ford Chrysler Plymouth dealer in, where was I? Richland, Washington. Anyway, here's a quick hack that saves a whole bunch of mess. Get yourself an ice pick. Real simple deal. Go up underneath where the dipstick tube is. Smack it right through the bottom of the pan with a hammer. Don't go too far, just poke a hole. And look, you can drain that fluid into a shot glass if you want to, without it splashing all over. I know you guys have taken a pan apart off, unbolted all the bolts except for 2 or 3, loosened it, tried to get the corner to drop, and then sploosh, you have a puddle the size of an area rug all over your nice clean shop floor. This eliminates this. You can re-weld that back together without even using any welding rod. Clean the pan good with non-flammable brake clean, which is what I prefer. Then smack it down flat with a hammer. Get your little torch going. I use acetylene and oxygen, or I actually have gone to propane oxygen, which burns just plenty hot enough for everything you're going to do. You aren't trying to cut 1-inch plate. And just weld that little hole up. Throw a little bit of water in it, or actually better yet, a little bit of gasoline or brake clean because it's thinner. See if it leaks. If it doesn't leak, put that puppy back up in there. Then forever somebody will know that you were smarter than them by poking a hole to make it drain easier. Real easy hack. So we're going to let that drain. Now this transmission has just been done and it has clean fluid in it. I don't know if you can see how clean it is, but it is crystal clear. And to be honest with you, at $9 a quart, the only reason I'm doing it is because they have a transmission pan that leaks. So what I'm probably going to do is change the filter, try and save this fluid. I've got new fluid to put in it, so I'll use new fluid. But then if I have something that I need to add a little bit to, I can use a pint of this or whatever. It's not going to hurt anything. And we save ourselves. At the price of fluid now, if I save 20 bucks, it's 20 bucks, right? So that's just hack number 1 on this whole ordeal. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Have to change the battery. Got a little heat going in the stove because it's 39 degrees. And we'll continue on with this video. I'll be back. Alright, so it's been a little while. And we've zoomed her all the way up to 50 degrees. So it's starting to get warm. Well, you wouldn't know it. Between the sun shining out there and the furnace going, it actually hasn't been that long, maybe 10 minutes. The fluid is still draining. But when I did this at dealerships, of course you get paid flat rate, which means the faster you get the job done. So what I used to do is, instead of an ice pick, I sharpened a point on a number 2 Phillips screwdriver and poke that through. But so far we've gotten about 2 quarts. We're just bopping along. I'm not in a rush. I've got plenty to do. I have some modifications to do. I've got wiring and fuel lines and stuff to change. So as my hands warm up, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for this other project here, which my truck, well, there's where the tailpipe extension used to be. So I cut the rusty part off, bought a new piece of pipe, and went ahead and got a set of new exhaust tips. It's on my camera gear. So I gotta move some garbage out of the way here. Everything from laser levels to you name it, we have some. I'll put that up there. I went ahead and these nice chromy tips, which is what it had. I know they're kind of ridiculous, but whatever. And I welded them up. I'm not trying to seal anything. And I'm playing with that new YES welder again. So, to be honest with you, the welds ain't beautiful. But it's a tailpipe extension. It's not like it's blowing exhaust inside. So, I had to spin them and do the gobbledygook. I am a much better welder than this. I'm sure you saw what I did with the boxing of the frame, which shows a whole different level of welds. Where is it? There it is. So we can do it right. It's just a matter of playing the super thin metal, figuring out how to do it. I didn't burn any holes. So anyway, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and got my jack over here, and I've lifted up the back of the tailpipe so that I can set everything kind of in place and get it straight. Then I'll tack it in place, put the hanger on. So that's the project for this minute. Let me fiddle with that and I'll get back with you. Alright, I'm back again. So here we go. We've let her drain to the point where it doesn't even drip. Now this isn't anything magic, but I figure I'd let you guys see what this thing looks like as I pull it out, just like anybody would. I'll get my drain pan out of the way for a minute. I'll yank a few more bolts. So the one main thing that it just does, poking that hole that is, when you start to get this pan to drop, there's about 4 or 5 quarts in here, and there's no way of avoiding the pan suddenly dropping. And when it drops like that, it's going to be a mess. Now I've just canted the pan just a little bit, so now I have a new drip, but it hasn't come down on my head with a splash, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. Garbage out of the way. Move my pan here so that I catch it all and see what happens. Now that's not to say there's no fluid in this. There is, because all these little ridges, of course, hold some fluid. So be prepared. Check to make sure all the bolts are out. Hold the pan up. Pull the last bolt. Okay, we now have a loose transmission pan, unless I missed a bolt. Gently, and down she comes. And once again, there's a little bit of fluid, as you can see. But isn't that magic? That is much easier. You can't beat that with a stick. So let me get a rag. Okay, I'm back. I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me? Yeah, I'm kind of in there. So here's what we have at this point. That's a pretty clean pan. You got a little light in there. It doesn't look bad. It's got some paint in the bottom of it, where they apparently painted the, I don't know, maybe the edge of the pan and it got in there when I pulled it. I don't know. But it looks almost like maybe they painted the lip right here. And it might have got some paint in. But it looks pretty clean. The biggest problem you have with these is people over tightening the gasket and not dimpling the pan first. Now, when you tighten these up, these have a tendency to get a little bit of a bubble in them. And if you yank it off, do a transmission service, pop it right back together, that bubble is going to hold that pan from getting up snug against the gasket. So you need to dimple them the other way a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so here we are. She's cleaned up, dried off. And you can see this real big hole right here. And I put it right next to a ridge for no particular reason, just makes it a little more difficult. But all I'm going to do is just take the pan like this. I'm going to smack that hole pretty close to closed. Can you see it? Where is it? It's right there. So then from there, we just hit it with a little bit of weld. It'll only take a minute. It's good to go. Now I did notice that this pan has got a pretty big dent in it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and smack that out while I'm here. That's pretty good. I'll go and clean this up. It's things like this that make you wonder what's going on here. They bent it down. Now, because they bent that, there's a good possibility that that's part of where the leak is. So I'm going to go around every bolt hole, every single one, and just do that just a little bit, just to get her dimpled down a little. It doesn't take much. Remember, you're working with tin. It's not. See here, it's bent out. It's almost like it was dropped, maybe? Or hit something when it went in. Let's grab a pair of pliers, we'll straighten that out, and we'll check it for flat. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, I guess you can. I should really look at the camera first as I start doing that stuff. Alright. Now we'll get a straight edge and we'll see how bad we did. It is absolutely critical that you start with a flat pan. So, I don't know, can you see through there? There's a good bow right in the middle. So we have to fix that. That one's pretty good. That one's pretty good. And that one's pretty good. This one not so much. And it's right where that bend was. So we're going to flip it over. It's bent up, down, if we're going the other way, right there. So we'll just get it on two high points here. And we'll a few smacks. It's just about her. A little bit low on this side. Yeah, you can't really see it, but that's 100% better. So, there we have it. Now I'll get that thing welded up, and we'll be happy as a clam. I do have the wire feed out. You can do it with a wire feed. You can do it with a torch. You can solder it. It doesn't get so hot that you can't even just use solder. Lead and flux. Remember, this is just like doing lead body work, which they used to do all the time on steel. So you could do it that way too. However you want to do it, you can you can weld a nut on the inside, put a little slot in the side of it, put a rubber gasket on the outside, then you have a drain pan for future use with a drain plug. You can buy a new pan that has a drain plug built in it and fins and everything to help make it cool. But if you're going to use the pan again, just it takes 30 seconds to heat it up to red, weld it, put your torches away, and you're done. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish up the transmission service, which doesn't require a lot. I'll just check everything out and put a new filter in, and hopefully we'll be slapping this back together here in a little while. Once again, I'll be back. Good morning. Hot Rods in the Woods here. Just me and my dog so far today. I do have some help coming a little bit later. But today, we're working on the exhaust on the 1929 Tudor. Now, I think I had told you guys, I didn't like the way it hung down. I don't know how well you can see that from here, but it's like the lowest thing in the car. So what I'm doing is, I'll bring you over here with me. You can kind of see what I mean. It hangs down a pretty good ways. So I'm taking it up about 2 inches. I've already removed the other one. And by taking this up 2 inches, it's going to drop the back end a little bit, the way they've got it hung. But I'm going to go ahead and then put turn downs to turn out to the sides of the car. And we'll get rid of this clamp by going ahead and welding it together. So what I've done is I have taken the pipe. I've cut 2 inches off it. And I'm going to weld the collector like onto the top. Now, I have had my first failure of a Bauer tool. It has nothing to do with the Bauer tool. I tried to do some acrobatics with it. Somehow, I went to pull it out, and it did a triple flip and landed on the floor. The good news is it still works. It'll work fine with the wire wheel for a while. It's making some oddball noises, but it hit right on the head of it from about 5 feet off the floor. So when I put a disc in it like this, it somehow or another loosens it up and gets it out of round. So kind of weird. I can't really see anything wrong, but I did something. Anyway, so I went and picked up another one, 35 bucks. So I'll be doing some welding here this morning. We'll get the other pipe off if this one works, and we'll do the same thing to it. In the meantime, I'll get a fire going because it's a little chilly this morning. Not real bad, but a little bit. It is currently, it's about 55 degrees. The humidity's off the bottom of the chart. So we're going to get her warmed up a little bit, try and get it dried out a little in here. A pretty good fire started, so it won't take long now. That thing will start drying things out. So I'll be back in a few. We'll start doing some welding. Okay, so what I've done is I've cut out 2 inches of the pipe, basically from here to here. It's a little less than 2 inches. This rest of this was just jammed on the collector. So I also cut the collector down a little bit so that I can make it a little shorter. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to tack it in place, and then I will go ahead and test fit it on the car. So I guess I'll go ahead and weld it, and if it's too bright for the camera will dim it as we go. So Hopefully this will hold long enough for me to get a tack on it. It's kind of a messed up clamping system here. Let's see what happens. Put my reading glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. For starters, look out, sunshine. The dog trying to get in the picture. It's a pretty nice little tack. Now the question is, can I flip it over and get the same tack on the other side without everything falling apart? I guess they forgot to put the welding gloves on. Thankfully it's just a tack, it doesn't matter. Let's see what happens here. I doubt that it's going to work. But it might. Yeah, well, you saw what happened. That's okay, because it'll lay on the bench now. Being as the collector was a different size, I couldn't just set it down like this. Alright, let's give her another tack, see what happens. That should hold it all. Alright, shotgun welder. And we'll turn off the gas. Good habit to get into. My Hobart welder has a little bit of a seepage at the internal valve inside the machine. So over a period of a couple weeks, if I forget to turn the gas off, you know what happens. I go to weld and there's no gas. The new one seems to be working all right, but it's a good habit to get into, to just turn the gas off every time you're done, even if it's only for 20 minutes. So. All right, I'll get back with you in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and hang this up in there, get it close, and then I'll turn the camera back on and you can see what's happening. Well, in all my brilliance, I forgot to film. So let's take you out here and we'll get a look. So there's the difference. And you can see that that other pipe is way down low. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. I'm going to have to raise up this mount just a little bit, as it does slope down ever so slightly. And then I'll go ahead and do my turnouts. I think I'm going to go ahead and move the mufflers up on the pipe about 6 inches. And we'll see if we can't get the exhaust to come out the side. I can do turn downs. The problem with turn downs in this particular vehicle is there's a big flat surface at the back, which is going to cause a low pressure area, which is going to cause the exhaust to try and come right back up through the back of the cab. So by moving the pipes up, say even with the tail shaft on the transmission right there, I should be able to get a 90-degree elbow and get my exhaust to come out right here, which is right in front of the rear wheel, which should allow it to blow out instead of back up. So let's cut this one up a little more and we'll see how she fits. Okay, so you can see, I'll hold it up level, how much cleaner that looks with it up alongside there. Yes, there's still enough room to get the oil filter out, but it's not the lowest hanging piece in the whole friggin' car. So, and it also, if you look, it sits down just a little bit, which is okay because the tailpipe has to clear the running board. It will go up a little bit. I have her tight up in the front here on the collector, which is another thing you need to watch for when you weld this stuff. You need to confirm that your cuts up here are flat so that your flange hits correctly. I mean, you don't want it front to back where the gasket doesn't hit the surface. So, let me grab that pipe. I'll move you over here a little bit. I'll grab the muffler and we'll slide that on. And we'll see how this part works. And once again, we aren't worried about the back, we're only worried about the front. So, right there is my mark. I'm about even with the tail shaft of the transmission. This is going to go up some more when I weld it. Let's take it up just a hair more. I'm going to revamp that hanger anyway. Okay, I'll show you where we're at, and then you can understand what I have to do from here. So, I do still have more room here to move the muffler forward. And I may just have to do that because if we parallel, I don't really have enough room to get a bend here. So I'm going to slide the muffler up farther. Well, apparently that's as far as I can go before the baffles. And I don't believe that I can get a bend in there. Let's get a look. Okay, I can. If I weld it right to the back of the muffler, would bring it straight out to there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break these welds off, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this and mock it here and just see where we come out. I think I'll do that before I do any more up here. I'm okay where the muffler sits right here. I have no problem with that. It's clear of the transmission. Everything is clear to the front. Now you can get a good idea, sorry about the light, of how low that other pipe is. Well, maybe you can't, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pop these welds out, pull this pipe off, cut this, and then we'll see how it tacks up. We'll go from there. I'll do that. Okay, so we mocked it up a little bit and we're plugging away here, but I wanted to show you a little something because it's kind of important. So, in case you didn't know, there is a direction to these mufflers. I don't know how well you can see in that hole. I'll do my best to get some light in there. The baffles aim in one direction. So, if you look, see how they're open from this side? This is the inlet. So some of the exhaust noise, if you will, goes into those little holes and is muffled by the fiberglass in between. If you look at this side, they don't. It's kind of hard. So basically, you can put a glass pack on backwards and have no muffling sound at all. So the good news is, if you put them on the right way, cherry bombs or glass packs are actually a pretty good sounding exhaust. So here's what I got. We know that this is the front. Excuse me. Still fighting off this cold just a little bit. And this is the back. And this pipe needs to be exactly at a 90 degree to the muffler. Just about like that. So, problem with that is, The pipe is ever so slightly smaller, so I'm going to have to grind that together and weld her all up. And it's got to be up like this so it's parallel to the hole. So I've got a little bit of setup I have to accomplish, which I'll do, and then we'll tack it in place, slide it up in there, and see how it works. So basically, for setting it up, I'm going to use just an old hunk of wood, anything I can find to get it up to the same height as the hole. And then we'll throw a quick tack in it after I clean up the metal so that it welds halfway decent. Here we go. So I don't know how well you can see that through the 28. And I'll walk around and we'll get a better look and see how it comes out. I haven't decided what to do for the actual exhaust tip, but you can see that that is pretty square to the running board. It comes right along this seam just about perfect, so we can put our tip in there, whether it's baloney cut or whatever, I don't know, but we'll come up with something. I actually may go forward with the pipe just another if I go another 2 inches forward, that will move it forward, and maybe I can come up with something trick for the ends of that. It's so tough inside exhaust to come up with some brilliant idea as to what you want. I mean, you know, you can go with baloney cuts. I have a set of these big suckers here, but these are kind of ridiculously big. They're 3 inch. But that kind of gives us an idea. I could probably make something out of tin. I'm going to take you out around the back. No sense putting you on pause for 30 seconds just to walk around the building. Still fighting this little cough. I feel fine, but hey, this is like what was on the Model A pickup, which is huge when you consider the size of the exhaust in the front. They went from 1 7/8 at the manifold, then they flared these big pipes, ran them through, and then they go to 3 inch through a muffler that's backwards, by the way, and out, and just made a mess. So we want to clean that up. I'm just not quite sure what I want to do for a tip. I could take a piece of 3 inch and I could flatten it and make it a little bit of an oval. Maybe slice it toward the back. Maybe take them out instead of... Oh, I don't have enough room. I don't want the muffler so close to that it's right next to the transmission pan. That doesn't make any sense. I like this smooth transition here. It's just cleaner. So I'll move the muffler ahead another 2 inches, which will give us enough room for some sort of a tip. And in the meantime, I'll just run a pipe out there, and then we can always change it later. I'll look for some tips, get the owner's ideas on that. So, all right, I'm going to cut this back a little farther, and I'm going to start going to welding. So here we go. All right, just a little addition here. So we have our collector, even with the header. We've gone ahead and leveled the pipe, because that's important. You don't want it aiming down, you don't want it aiming up. We've squared up and jacked up this. Now our next thing is we have to determine, is this at the right height for here? So the best way to do that is just back up. And I can't from this side because I have another Model A in the way. So we'll come around this side, get back a ways. I don't know how well you can see that, but it appears that it's a little low. So what I'll do, you can see the angle of the muffler is down just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and take the welder over there, and I'm going to tack the muffler to the pipe so that I can go ahead and get it up where it needs to be. Now, a couple things to consider when you're doing this that you may not think about until it's too late. And that is, as we saw on my Chrysler, the headers didn't come out in the same place. I don't know how well you can see this, but the passenger side header is down about another inch, maybe a little bit more than the driver's side at the collector itself. Now, because of that, if I cut this pipe at the 2 inches exactly like I cut this pipe's going to hang down farther. So I need to test fit this a few times to make sure that it matches and is parallel to the other pipe. Otherwise, it'll look funky. So it's best to do one first, mock it completely up, and then try and mirror image it as best as possible on the other side. So we're going to do this side first, and as you can see, I can move the muffler up and down just about enough to get it where I want it to be. So I'll tack it here, level it here, and then we can take it out and weld it all up. So here we go. Once I get it on the bench again, I'll bring you back online and you can watch me make a mess. Alright, so well, you can see this from the front. Get this out of the way. You can see the difference. So it's obvious that by moving that pipe up, and of course I painted it black with high heat paint, it just makes it look so much better. It's not hanging down. It's a much tighter fit. Goes right along the sides. It's very close to level. Goes out. Makes a 90-degree turn. And I just threw this on the end just as trying to figure something out. That's your head. Trying to figure something out for a turnout. And I don't know if I want to come all the way out here and do a little drop or what I want to do there, but there she is at this point. Much cleaner. Now I'll go ahead and emulate the other side, or copy this side to make it as close as possible, and we'll be back and show you the end result, and then we'll go on to the rest of the stuff underneath that needs to be dealt with. So I'll be back. Alright, so we're getting ready to assemble here, but one thing I want to point out that most people miss, if you look real closely, you'll see that the gap over here is much closer than the gap over here, and that is a massive mistake, because if you don't center it, and it doesn't take much, you just gotta wiggle it a little bit and get it in the middle. That gasket doesn't have a lot of sealing surface to begin with, so we'll go ahead and snug those up, and then we'll carry the other side over and we'll get this puppy bolted together. And I want my level off the top of that exhaust pipe into pieces. Well, pretty Mickey Mouse anyway. And I went right back together. I'm sure it's a very high-tech and accurate level. Okay, so now, if you look, you can see that the gap is much more even. So it has a much better chance of sealing, although as we all know, header gaskets are fickle. Okay, now it's time for the other side. Now one thing I do like to do is, most of them come with just a plain bolt and a plain nut, and we all know that they come loose as well. So what I like to do, if at all possible, is change them to a serrated nut, which locks against the metal. You can feel the teeth are actually pretty sharp, so they will catch it and they will keep it from loosening up. And the whole trick is if you can get them in the holes. I don't know where these pretty chrome shorty headers came from, but they're pretty trick. So, alright, stand by, I'll go get the other one and we'll go to putting her in. And you can see how much fun I have with that. Yeah, that's not going to work with that light. Get that out of the way for right this minute. Alright, here we go. Now I know some of you are going to ask, so I'll answer it before you do. Why am I using exhaust that I have painted black? And the reason for that is, it's not all new, it's not all pretty stainless. So we use what we have to get it pretty, or pretty invisible, whichever you want to call it. Alright, so this side's a little bit of a bitch because the starter is right next to it. And that's one thing about some of these headers. They're designed with specific stuff in mind. Now, this particular header, I'm sure, would work a lot better if I had a little peanut starter. I don't know. The one that's in it works fine. Can I change it? Of course. Will I? And the minute this one fails, let's go to a different mold for starters, just to get something to hold this thing in place. So as we put this together, I have gone ahead and pretty much centered this side already, and waiting. Alright, so we'll center it up. And as I discussed, it doesn't take much. Just move it a little bit toward the middle. Because like I said, these gaskets have very little surface to grab. Alright, now let's see how lucky we get tightening these puppies up. And there's that. Okay. So now we'll just pop this hanger into place, and you can get an idea of what I did here. I have a love-hate relationship with cars that have oil leaks. I hate them because it gets everything nasty. Oh, I want that start. There we go. I love them because none of the bolts are so rusty that you have to cut them off with a blue wrench. So there. Yes, another Harbor Freight tool. But they work great, so why spend any more money? They're a jack stand, for God's sake. You know, this ain't rocket science. Alright, we'll get this out of the way. Watch your head. Pull this back down. I have not tightened that. Let's do that before I forget. It only takes a second. All right, you ready? Here is the reveal. Ta-da. Check that out. Doesn't that look a little better? So they're up higher. So when you look, that's not a dent, by the way. That's just a little mark in the paint. So when you look down the car now, they're nice and tucked up. They aren't the lowest thing in the way of the ground. Everything looks mucho better. They're parallel. They're uniform. And even the exhausts come out the same way. So there you have it. The exhaust is done. Fini. So now the next question is, what do we do for exhaust tips? Get you out here. I'll show you one idea I have. Now, as I've discussed in the past, I have gone to buying these kits, which are reasonably inexpensive, depending on where you buy them. The same exact kit goes for between $105 and $300. But I could go like this, which comes out of the 45, like that, which isn't bad. That was one. Let's take it up a little ways. Which makes it real easy. I could baloney cut it at a diagonal there, make it kind of even with there. It's going to blow most of the exhaust out past the tire. So that would work. Easy. It really doesn't need another hanger, but I could put another, just a little hanger on it. And all I'd have to do is just tack weld that back in there just to hold it in place. So that's one option. Another option is to come way out straight, baloney cut it right even with the fender. I could do that. So there's a few different things, but I think this works. But for right now, I'm just going to leave them like this. We'll get the car running, get the rest of the stuff done, and I'll look online and see what kind of magic stuff I can find, but I think that's pretty slick for so far. So there you have it. Now we've got the exhaust done. Now I'll just start buttoning up everything else underneath, and maybe tomorrow afternoon we'll fire this puppy up and get it off the lift and drive it up the road for the first time. We'll see. Still have to put seats in it. That's rather important. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, Hot Rods in the Woods, that's me. I'm John. I think right now it's time for a cold snack, as Vice Grip Garage would say it. And Derek's a pretty sharp guy. He knows when it's time for a beer too. There you go. One step closer to having the 29 Model A Tudor. Sorry. Is this the Tudor? No, this is the sedan delivery. I have too many cars in the works. But one more step getting closer. So once again, have a wonderful day. We'll be back.